Right folks, and welcome to the channel. And in part 3 of this video series, I'm going to have a look at some bass guitar on this track. We mentioned earlier in the week, well, there's 5 bass tracks, but we're not using the DI track. All we're going to use is these 3 amplified tracks. So only processing I've got on there is just, at the minute, just some basic high and low pass filtering on the stem. And I think for this bass, for this song track, whatever, I'm going to keep this bass summing because there's quite a lot going off here. So with just that little bit of processing on, the what I've got it set to at the minute, the bass sounds a little bit like this. First off, we're going to concentrate on this bass track. This is the mix consolidator track, and this is going to be my main bass track. So first thing we're going to pop on is some EQ. So we're just going to set some filters on there. So around about 4.5K and say about 60 hertz. So without the EQ on. So just cleaning up that top end and low end of the bass. Let me dive in and EQ this a little bit more. So all I've done there is just take some of that boxing, some muddiness out of the mid-range, sort of around about 300 hertz and about 7.5. And next up, put some compression on there just to basically just to level things off a little bit. And we've got a roughly 4:1. And see, we've got about 6 dB of gain reduction in there. And then just to keep everything level, we're just going to put a limiter on. All we're doing with that is just taming the peaks down. As you can hear, that's still quite a nasally sound, but I think it'll fit with the rest of the tracks. So next off, we've got this distorted bass, which is basically a copy of the main bass. So what I like to do with a bit more of a distorted bass, start off with, we'll pop some EQ in there. What we're going to focus on is basically that mid-range. So the low pass filter I've got set a bit higher, and the low pass filter or high cuts is a little bit lower. So that's just focusing more on that mid-range, and I'm just going to use that same compressor and limiter. And what that does is just basically help the bass cut through the mix, especially on smaller speakers, say on your phones or even smaller desktop speakers. Next one, we'll have a look at this low bass. To me that sounds a little bit clean, got a little bit of, it's mainly that low end, so let's have a look at the EQ. here. We're not getting much above that 2k mark, so I'm just really, this is really going to just concentrate on that low end. So I'm going to filter out everything above 300 hertz. Got that same compressor, bang that same limiter on. And that's it. Now this other bass track, he's called it a dull track. Just going to put that same EQ as what I've got on the main track actually. Maybe just take them cuts out. Yeah, so I've just taken the high cut down to 1.3. I've just brought the low cut down to around about 50 hertz. And same again, just going to use that same compressor and limiter. I think that smooths everything off nicely. So altogether, they sound like this. And all I'm going to do in that sub mix is just really finalising everything off. And all I've done there is just taking a little bit out at 400 hertz and a little bit out at 2k. And then just knock the low cut high pass filter down to 60 hertz. And if I just wanted to add a little bit more saturation on there, let me try it. Let me add that red light in. In fact, I might just add that in before it. Let's just put it. In fact, what I might do instead of putting that low cut in is I might, since we've done low cuts on the rest of it, I might just put a bit of a shelf in there. Maybe not 12 dB shelf, around about 150 hertz. Let's just have a listen at that bass again. I'm gonna leave that in. I like it, like what it's doing. Just notched the sub mix down a little bit because obviously the saturation is adding a little bit of volume in there. And yeah, I've gone for a shelf rather than a cut. Since we've got cuts in on the actual individual tracks themselves, I put a shelf in just to tame that low end down a little bit. And yeah, that's everything I'm going to do on the bass. So come and join me tomorrow and we'll have a look at the guitars. Right folks, I hope you enjoyed that video. You can follow me on social media and you can get my music online. And if you want to support the channel, there's Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal links. They're all down in the description. Click up here to subscribe and click the link down there for videos that you may not have seen. Keep it loud and keep it heavy.